Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Liam's Fight Night Picks here on JFT YouTube channel. It's just myself this week. It's a little bit of a shorter episode as the fights are a bit thinner on the ground, but I still have three fantastic fights to preview for you. In Australia, George Kambosos Jr.'s homecoming and Sky Nicholson also returning to action before moving over to Las Vegas, and a two-belt holder at 154 pounds finally making their first defense in the form of Sebastian Formella. But before we head over to America, we'll start on Saturday morning, where all eyes will be on Sydney's Olympic Park at the Kudos Bank Arena, and Sky Nicholson is in co-main event action defending her WBC featherweight belt. Look, Sky is the Aussie Golden Girl, as I've said here. She has impressed at every hurdle. And every time we think she maybe answered a question, like some people thought, would she be able to handle the power of Raven Chapman? She shows not able to handle the power, but she's able to walk through it and stay disciplined and in the same game plan. I suppose with Sky, one criticism would be that her style, to coin a phrase of my good friend Sam, is very rinse and repeat. Once you've seen her for 2 or 4 minutes, you know what you're going to get till the end of the fight. But she is that effective at what she does and that effective at how she does it, that it doesn't matter that it's rinse and repeat. Nobody is able to touch her. To quote Sky herself, these girls watch me and think they're going to be able to walk through me. But it's very different when you're in the ring with me. You could have 30 rounds with me, but you would not be able to figure me out. And some people will say that's arrogance, but it's outstanding confidence. She has such belief in her skill set and what she's able to produce in the ring that nothing these girls bring towards her is able to challenge her in any way. And I think that's a fantastic attitude to have. Hopefully no slip-ups in this fight on Saturday morning, and then we'll see her in unification fights in the latter stages of 2025. Not to do her opponent a disservice, Tiara Brown is 18-0. She does have 11 knockouts on that record. Look, again, we could be clutching at straws here. We have a puncher in Tiara Brown and a cute boxer in Sky Nicholson. Is the puncher going to be able to land on the boxer? For me, I have my question marks. Look, Tiara Brown has done it on the road before. She's fought all over the Americas. She's even come to Panama, etc. before in order to secure the victory. She's not afraid of traveling on the road. However, she is 36 years old. Sky is only 29. And while she does have a slight height advantage in the ring, I just don't think she's going to be able to get close enough to Sky. Sky is very good at getting her punches off as soon as the bell goes to start a round and an opponent isn't set. And then she's on her rhythm, she's on her bike. And because they're only 2-minute rounds, she can rack them up quite easily. So, yes, I think if we see Tiara Brown has the power to test Sky Nicholson, but I just wonder if we're actually going to see that come to fruition in the fight. Sky is a very slick operator. And for me, Tiara Brown's challenge in there is to make the fight competitive, make us ask questions about Sky that we haven't asked before. Maybe chin test her properly. Yes, we've seen her chin tested before, but she's just walked through it and carried on. Can she actually have a dent put in her and then carry on coming into the fire? Well, we'll move on to a prediction for this one. I mean, for me, Sky Nicholson is one of the best to offer in the female fight game at the moment. Once Katie Taylor moves on, I think Sky Nicholson is going to take over that mantle for me. And with that being said, I fully expect this to be a 8 rounds to 2, 10 rounds to 0 shutout for Sky Nicholson. She'll be in complete control the whole fight. It may take her a couple of rounds to get into it, but I've got full belief in Sky Nicholson doing the job in the co-main events out in Sydney on Saturday. And now we're done with the co-main event, we're going to move on to the main event, which unfortunately is another case of last-minute change of opponent that seems to be a theme littering across fight sports at the moment. Not just boxing, but of course in MMA as well. And it is the ferocious George Kambosos Jr. He's taken on the Australian champion now at 140 pounds in Jake Wiley. Look, I mean this in no disrespect to George. He has done a fantastic job to maximize his career with a very limited and one-dimensional skill set and game plan. He's become a world champion. He had his night of nights against Teo Lopez. He unfortunately came up short against Devin Haney. He's also since then come up short against... He's also since then, as I was saying, come up short against Vasily Lomachenko as well, which there's no shame in coming up short to Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. They are two of the best to do it at 140 pounds. And in Vasily, he will possibly go down in the Hall of Fame, especially when you consider his amateur career. But here is George Kambosos again. We know the plan for him. If he comes through this fight on Saturday night, he will more than likely be getting a shot at Richardson Hitchens later in the year back in Australia. And look, full credit to him. He's able to put himself in these positions. Even when he loses, he's in entertaining fights. He goes out on his shield. He puts it all on the line. and you can't fault that style at all. But his opponent, Jake Wiley, look, Kambosos has said it himself. He's given him his Rocky moment like Teo Lopez gave to him. And can he punch his golden ticket? Look, he's an unknown entity in this fight at 16-1. I feel with the original opponent, we knew what we were going to get from Kambosos. I had confidence that he would come through this fight. Jake Wiley is an unknown entity. If anyone's going to be able to cause a shock this weekend, it is the unknown 24-year-old from Queensland. Is he going to have enough? Is this his moment? Yes, being the champion of any country, as we've discussed with the boys earlier this week, that's good. That takes a lot just to become become a champion of your nation. Now's the step up. We know Kambosos is fringe world level. He's been a unified champion before. Jake Wiley showed that you have the potential to go and do that in the future. That is your task on Saturday morning. But for me, with this fight, as much as I believe that Wiley may be able to step up to that level, I can't see past George Kambosos Jr. Too slick, knows what he's going to do, and we're probably looking at a mid to late rounds stoppage in this fight. It's still over 12 rounds as it is an unofficial final eliminator with the IBF. And I just think Kambosos' ring-craft and experience over the longer distance will come into play in this fight. And ultimately, as we go down the stretch, it will be what's the telling factor. So George Kambosos by stoppage in the mid to late rounds. So our third fight we're going to cover, we're going to move over to America. And it's just a reminder, hey, do you remember me from Sebastian Fundora? Obviously ripped away the belts from Tim Tszyu last Easter weekend, and we haven't seen him since. A combination of taking time to recover from what was a grueling and brutal fight, and then constant talk of we're going to see him in with Errol Spence, which haven't come to fruition. We finally see him defend his WBO and WBC 154-pound bout against Chardale Booker. Look, Fundora at 6'5.5" and an 80-inch reach is a very, very awkward fighter to be in there with. He makes fights scrappy. He makes fights messy, which is what he done against Tim Tszyu. And he's able to be effective without making it look pretty and cute. And unfortunately, I think that's the blueprint in this fight. Booker's only defeat on his record is when he was iced inside a round by Ammo Williams a few fights back. He's not been in with the same level as Fundora. That was as close as he's got to world level with Ammo Williams. And as impressive as Ammo Williams looked in his fight last weekend, we can't say yet really if he's at world level himself. So going off of what we've seen, Fundora should be a heavy favourite going into this fight. Look, yes, the near year of inactivity could play a factor in this fight and could level the boards at all, but I don't see that happening. I think Sebastian Fundora is going to make a statement with defending his two belts. And then do we see him in with Keith Thurman? Do we see him in with Tim Tszyu? Does he get the call to fight Virgil Ortiz or even a certain Terence Bud Crawford? I mean, we know what the plan is for Crawford, but if something falls through there, could we see Fundora and Crawford getting in the ring together? I, for one, would be thoroughly intrigued by that fight. But for a prediction for this main event from Vegas, it's on Amazon Prime if you're looking for it in the UK, not a pay-per-view event. I think Sebastian Fundora via a unanimous points decision, probably looking at 8 rounds to 4, 9 rounds to 3. But if a stoppage comes, it also wouldn't surprise me. So there we go. A slightly shorter episode of Liam's Fight Night Picks this week, but we've covered the 3 main fights that are going down this weekend. I will be back next week with a brand new guest on the show where we will get into the nitty-gritty of a bit of a rivalry weekend. We have the rematch in Vegas from all the bad blood between Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan. And we also finally have in the UK, Cameron Vong and Jordan Flynn getting it on. The fight's been scheduled 3 or 4 times and fallen off. We're just over a week away from it now, and we're hoping we'll get to see it. As always, get involved in the comments and let me know what you think of my predictions. Please follow me on X, as it says on the screen at Liam_Tully9, and I will see you again next week. Thank you very much.